I never thought a storm could change my life. Forever the words slipped from my lips just as thunder cracked, like I dared the heavens to answer. The storm was already tearing through Willow Creek, a small town in upstate New York, with a fury that uprooted trees and silenced the hum of Main Street in one fell swoop. The sky was so dark it could have passed for midnight, though it was barely 6 in the evening. My car's radio hissed static, the wipers fighting a losing battle against sheets of rain that pounded the windshield, relentless, blurring the world into a watercolor smear. Then, like a switch flipped, the lights ahead flickered, street lamps, porch lights, the neon glow of the diner, all snuffed out, leaving the town as black as the clouds above. No way I'm driving through this, I muttered, easing my old Chevy pickup into the lot of a derelict gas station on the edge of town. The canopy sagged, half offering shelter, half surrendering to the deluge, its faded mobile sign swinging in the wind like a metronome keeping time with my pulse. I cut the engine, and for a moment, I just sat there, the rain hammering the roof like a frantic drumline, a rhythm of urgency and unease, laced with the scent of wet asphalt and something raw, like the earth was starting over. I cracked the door, and the water hit me like a cold slap, shrinking the world to the patch of dry ground under canopy and a shadowed path to the shuttered convenience store attached to the station. That's when I saw her silhouette. A flicker of light, a phone screen glowing like a firefly caught in the dark, followed by a voice, steady but soft, trying to hold calm against the chaos. "Hey, careful, it's slick out there," she called, and as my eyes adjusted, her face came into focus. Dark hair plastered her forehead, a makeshift poncho of trash bags tied around her shoulders, and eyes that caught the lightning's flash and held it longer than the sky did. "You hurt?" she asked, stepping closer, and I realized I'd stumbled, my shoulder grazing a rusted soda machine that seemed to grow out of the shadows. "I'm fine," I said, rubbing the ache and forcing a grin, though water dripping down my neck made it tough to sell. "Name's Jake." "Emma," she replied, and the way she echoed my name, a beat later, stirred something strange, like I'd heard that voice in a half-forgotten dream, the kind you chase but never catch. A thunderclap shook the canopy, rattling the metal like it was warning us to move. Emma grabbed my arm without a word, pulling me behind the store's counter to a dry patch no bigger than a doormat. A small miracle in a storm like this. "Sorry, instinct," she said, letting go slowly, like she was measuring the space between care and caution. That big maple down on Elm Street fell, blocked the whole road. Sheriff's deputy swung by before the power cut out. "Said to stay put," she explained, nodding toward the blackness outside. Her phone was rigged as a flashlight, strapped to an empty water jug with a rubber band, casting a soft glow that turned the scene into something you'd see in a movie you're not sure you're ready to star in. "Nice setup," I said, pointing at her makeshift lantern. "You survivalist or what?" I teased, trying to cut the tension. "Close enough?" She laughed, and that sound, simple, human, made the storm feel smaller just for a second. I dress store windows for a living, build whole worlds out of fabric scraps and duct tape. "Rain's just another Tuesday," she said, but her eyes betrayed her. This wasn't just another Tuesday. We felt quiet, the wind howling like it was testing every door in Willow Creek. I thought of my mom's old saying, that some storms crack roofs and hearts alike, and I wasn't sure why it came to mind, except that standing near Emma, the storm felt like an uninvited guest who somehow belonged. "Anyone else around?" I asked, peering into the shadows. "Haven't seen a soul since I got here," she said, wiping her face with her sleeve. "My car died a block over. Yours still kicking." "It runs, but the street's a river," I said. "Worse, my phone's toast. Was streaming music till the signal tanked." "I've got some juice," she said, holding up a power bank like it was a toast to the end of the world. "No bars, but we can pretend we're still wired in." She grinned, sharp and quick, slicing through the chill. Another thunderclap, and the canopy groaned like it was begging for mercy. "We gotta get inside," I said, eyeing the store's glass door locked but with a cracked corner just big enough to work with. "Don't want it to look like we're breaking and entering," she hesitated. "Tonight's raining exceptions." I shot back, wrapping my jacket around my hand and nudged the glass aside without cutting myself. We slipped inside, the air thick with a musty smell of dust stirred awake, mingling with the cold by the storm air. A mix that felt like endings and beginnings colliding. Emma raised her lantern, and the beam swept across empty shelves, faded posters for cigarettes and lottery tickets. A clock frozen at 3:15, stuck in some eternal afternoon. "Welcome to our 5-star suite," she said, half sarcastic, half grateful, and the way she leaned against the wall, exhaling deeply, made me want to promise we'd be okay, even if I had no proof to back it up. "Water over there." I pointed to a corner where a few sealed jugs sat, relics of better days. "And some crackers that look like they're from the Reagan era," she joked, grabbing a pack and squinting at the expiration date with a playful wince. "Yeah, let's not test our luck with those." Agreed, but what are we boiling water with? Look at me, turning this into a camping trip, I said, my voice lighter, like her presence flipped a switch to keep the dark from swallowing me whole. "No fire, no drama," she replied, adjusting the lantern's rubber band and holding my gaze a moment too long. "So, Jake, what's your story? Where were you headed before the sky threw a tantrum?" I swallowed, wondering how to answer without prying open a box I kept taped shut since the rain started. "To see my dad," I said finally. "He's in Watertown, a couple hours north. We haven't been tight lately. Tried to make it today, but the storm had other ideas." She nodded, not digging, just understanding. "Tomorrow, then," she said, and the word hung between us like a tightrope stretched across the wind. "What about you, Emma?" "Coming back from work. Setting up a display for raincoats at the mall. Ironic, right?" She smirked, one corner of her mouth curling. "Delivery truck was late. I stayed. Storm rolled in. My car coughed and quit. Picture perfect ending. Scared of storms." I asked, no heroics, just honest. She exhaled, glancing at the ceiling as it creaked under the rain's weight. "Not what they do out there," she said, tapping her chest lightly, like she was guarding an old wound. "What they do in here. When I was a kid, my mom would snuff out every candle and say we had to listen. That rain whispers things a light drowns out. We listened. The rain shifted its rhythm, like someone upstairs swapped the soundtrack, and the wind softened from a scream to a murmur through the cracks. What's it saying now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, matching hers. "That we only control the storefront," she said, her smile tinged with something bittersweet. "The rest is alive, moves when it damn well pleases." A sharp crack snapped us out of it, a leak dripping steadily onto a cardboard box in the corner. "Over here," she pointed, dragging aside. "Saved absolutely nothing," she laughed, holding up the empty box. "Good intentions count," I said, and the way she looked at me felt like a quiet thank you for not trying to be more than I was in that moment. "You always talk like that?" she asked, leaning her hip against the counter, arms crossed in a mix of defense and ease. "Like what?" "Like you got one foot out the door, but decide to stick around for 5 more minutes. Her words hit like a gust I didn't see coming. I took a breath, and the truth spilled out before I could polish it. "Because I admitted, been that way for a while." She shifted her weight, like my confession rearranged the air between us. "I get it," she said, and no words could have landed better. "My bags?" I unpacked them by force, tossed half in the dumpster, left half in the corner of my room, like I'd bolt one day without a backward glance. But I stayed. "And now?" I asked. "Now I dress up store windows, crafting stories for strangers to buy," she said, no pretense. "Sometimes I forget to write my own." The rain let out a long sigh, like it was tired too. For a moment, the silence in the store grew heavier, and her phone light flickered, pleading for a break. "Battery," she warned, glancing at the screen. "Got a spare, but we gotta make it last." "Cool," I said, scanning the room. "We can set up camp back here. There's some old blankets in that cabinet and a thermos nobody's claimed." "If there's coffee, I'm proposing," she quipped, her humor sparking like a match in the dark, and popped the thermos lid. 2-year-old water. Hard pass. We dragged 2 musty cushions side by side, carving out a nook that felt less like a freezer, and she peeled off her trash bag poncho, revealing a soaked hoodie and a shiver that ran from her arms to her neck. I handed her my jacket, without a word. "You'll freeze," she said, holding it but hesitating. "I'm tough," I said and meant it. Her being okay was worth any chill I'd feel. "Tell me something real, Jake," she said after a stretch of listening to the rain drip through the gutters. "What brought you here beyond a wrong turn?" I clenched my jaw, searching for a place to rest the words. "A debt to time," I said. "The kind you pretend isn't there, because the years make enough noise to drown it out. But tonight, the noise stayed outside." She nodded slowly, like she carried that same weight. "I know those debts," she said. "Mine came due all at once." "How so?" "One day I opened my closet and realized half the stuff belonged to someone who hadn't lived with me in 2 years," she said. No drama, just raw truth. You learn to hang nostalgia on hangers and call it tidy. I could have said I knew exactly what she meant, but I let the silence do the talking, the kind that says more than any borrowed wisdom. Her lantern blinked again, and she swapped in the spare power bank, propping it in a plastic cup, turning shadows into outlines, outlines into something that felt like company. "Learn something tonight," I said. "Rain doesn't hurt, it soaks. And love, you don't see it, you feel it." She looked at me, a flash of surprise in her eyes, then a slow smile. Who knew? Poetry in a busted gas station. "Won't happen again," I said, raising my hands in mock surrender. A new sound cut through, not thunder, but with giving way. We scrambled to the door and peered through the crack. A massive branch sprawled across the asphalt, like a giant had decided to nap in the middle of the street. "Well, we're officially stuck," Emma said, not panicked, just accepting the new shape of the night. "Maybe it's an invitation." I risked. "To what?" she shot back. "To stay." Back in our nook, she curled up on the cushion, tucking her knees in. "What if the power doesn't come back?" she asked, her eyes avoiding mine. "We learn to see in the dark," I said, realizing too late how intimate it sounded. "You talk like you've done before," she said. "A few times," I admitted. "Tell me a story, then," she said. "One you only tell when the lights go out." I took a deep breath and told her about the day my dad left, with a duffel bag and a promise too big to keep, and how my mom learned to laugh with a neighbor and cook for a crowd to make fear feel smaller. I spoke of letters that never arrived, birthdays that burned out fast, and a hug I'd held on to for years, stuck, waiting for its owner. When I finished, her eyes glistened but didn't spill. "Thanks," she said, "for sharing without asking for anything back." "I did ask," I said lightly. "Your turn." She leaned her head against the wall. "I love someone who loved me half right, half wrong," she started, and I took both halves. Got so busy gluing store displays together, I didn't see my own cracks. Until one day, he left without taking his jackets, and I stayed, lining up hangers for a ghost, thinking if I kept everything in place, the world would give me back what I lost. "Did it?" I asked. "It gave me back myself," she said, and the way she said it made the store feel vast. "But some days, the rain comes back and asks if I want to rearrange the whole display again." A flash lit the room, and our shadows stood sharp against the walls, like someone snapped a photo without asking. The thunder hit right after, and instinctively, she grabbed my hand. It was quick, but enough for my body to know it was safe in that grip, that fear could breathe without shame. "Sorry," she said, letting go slow. "No need to apologize for being human," I said, and her quiet laugh lingered longer than the rain's roar. "If this night was a store window, what would you put in it?" I asked, trying to keep the lightness close. "An open umbrella, 2 coffee mugs, and a note, rain or shine," she said. "Nice," I said, but I ditched the note. "Why?" she grinned. "Some things you don't write. You live." The night stretched on like a road you only notice after you've driven it. We talked about music that pairs with rain, Tom Waits, maybe some lo-fi indie, towns that look better wet, promises that only make sense in the dark. She said she always wanted to see the ocean in the storm, to figure out if we're scared of the water or what it mirrors. And I admitted I liked the idea of going back to a place as someone new, just to see if it recognized me. When the wind finally eased and the rain turned to a stubborn drizzle, she rested her head on my shoulder, like choosing an anchor for a few hours. We stayed like that, breathing the same pause until a distant siren reminded us the world was still out there and would come for us eventually. "Jake," she said half asleep, "tomorrow I might leave." My heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" "Got a job offer in Buffalo. Was set on taking it before the rain started," she whispered. But tonight, I heard the storm. We went quiet, and the clock stuck at 3:15 finally seemed to have a reason to stay still. Her hand found mine again, no rush, and for the first time that night, I was scared of what came when the sky cleared. Outside, a tow truck crept by, scoping the fallen tree, and her lantern cast our shadows together on the glass door, like an accidental snapshot of two people who couldn't guess what the rain might build when it tore everything else down. The rain seemed to settle into the gas station, each gust a warning that faded into a hush, leaving behind a silence thick with unspoken words. Emma adjusted her makeshift lantern in the plastic cup and shot me a look that lingered, like she was waiting for me to say something to justify what the night was doing to us. "You cold?" I asked. "A little," she admitted. "Come over here." I pointed to the cushion tucked against the wall, where the wind couldn't reach as much. Less shaky when the canopy complains. "You ever measure how fear vibrates?" she teased, her smile quick and sharp. "Learn to gauge it by the chatter of teeth," I said, "and the way we try to act brave when nobody's asking us to." She shuffled closer, her sneakers scraping the floor, and sat beside me carefully, like she was testing new ground. The scent of her wet hair carried the storm inside, mixed with the dust of the store and a promise I couldn't quite name. "If I ask you a favor, you in?" she said. "Depends if it involves climbing the roof." "Harder than that. Stay here next to me and don't try to fix what I say." I nodded, serious. Emma took a deep breath, her chin nearly grazing her shoulder. "I'm scared of getting attached when the world gets too beautiful too fast," she said. "My body learns a path to a gesture quick, and my heart to the fall." "Fear is not a sign of weakness," I said. "It's your body guarding the part that hasn't healed right. You always got a line ready. Usually it's a scar talking for me." She laughed softly, and for a moment, the night felt lighter. "Here's the funny thing," she went on. "When the power goes out, I hear my mom's voice. Listen, the storm's an impatient teacher. I used to hate that, but tonight, I'm listening. What's it teaching you? That I don't control the display case of fate, and maybe I'm dodging feeling again out of sheer laziness." A creak from the ceiling sent a few drops pattering onto the floor, uneven like a broken metronome. "Hold up," I said, standing to drag an empty shelf under the leak. "Not pretty, but it'll keep the puddle at bay." "You fix what you can," she said, watching me move, "and make peace with the rest." Yeah, the rest we wade through together. "We?" She raised an eyebrow. "We. At least till the sky remembers what blue looks like." She bit her lip, thoughtful, like she was tasting the word before swallowing it. "Tell me more about you, Jake. A story nobody knows." "Nobody. Nobody who'd use it against you tomorrow." I grinned, settling back beside her, close enough to feel her warmth but respecting the space she still held with her crossed arms. "When I was a kid, there was a spot in the backyard where the dirt got soft after rain. I buried bottle caps there, thinking they'd grow into toys. One day, my mom caught me with mud up to my elbows and said some things you plant without a guarantee they'll sprout, but it's worth getting dirty anyway. You stop planting bottle caps? Swap them for waiting. And did the waiting grow? Tonight, some of it's starting to." Emma let out a That wasn't agreement or disagreement. It was a meeting place. "My turn," she said. "I learned to dress windows when I learned to tame the chaos at home. The messier things got, the straighter I lined up the objects. It was my trick to breathe. Did it work? Worked till I mixed up window displays with relationships. I'd arrange everything just right, with the perfect lighting, hoping someone would stay forever. But nobody stays forever in glass. Nope, because glass throws your reflection back. And sometimes what you see scares you." A thunderclap cut us off, and her lantern flickered. Her eyes asked it all. "If it goes out, can we handle it?" I reached out slowly, offering my hand, not demanding. She took it, her fingers cold but seeking warmth, and a kind of truce settled into our bones. "Thanks," she whispered, "for not bolting. Can't run in this mess." I joked. "You know what I mean." "I do." A good silence fell, the kind where you breathe in sync. Outside, sirens came and went, and faint voices shouted about a detour. For a moment, we considered checking it out, but we stayed. Sometimes the best thing you can do with a rescue is delay it. "I keep trying to guess how you kiss," she said out of nowhere, her honesty lighting up the air. "What's your guess?" I asked, my whole body tuning in. Careful at first, then a good kind of rush in the middle. My laugh came out low, surprised. She tilted her face, close enough that I could smell the rain on her skin. "Can I test it?" I asked, keeping it real. "Can you listen first?" she countered, her lips almost brushing mine. "I'm leaving." "Tonight?" "Tomorrow morning, if the road's clear." I said yes to the job. It's what I wanted, maybe still do. The floor seemed to tilt. I breathed, trying not to let the air come out as a desperate question. "Thanks for telling me now." I managed, had to, "if I kissed you without saying it. It'd feel like I'm selling a storefront, and I don't want that." "Then tell me the rest." "The rest is, I've been here for hours trying not to fall for you, and I'm failing hard." Her confession landed like a warm blanket in the cold. I touched her face, my fingertips asking permission without words. She leaned in, granting the path. The kiss started soft, like a promise well-written, then deepened into a welcome urgency. It was steady and wild, like a dock that knows both the breeze and the tide. When we pulled back, the lantern gave out. We laughed in the pitch black, the kind of laugh that comes when you're caught red-handed by your own bravery. "Guess the universe saved its special effects," I said. "Cut the lights to spend it all here." "Dork," she replied, resting her forehead against mine. "But thanks." We fumbled for the spare power bank, fingers turning into maps in the dark. I found the cord, she found the slot. The light came back, fading like a tired firefly, just enough to keep us in the same frame. "I want to understand this job," I said. "City timeline distance. Buffalo, decent pay, start ASAP. What made you say yes?" The chance to hit reset. I needed to choose myself. "And what's making you pause now?" "The feeling that real resets sometimes choose you." She grabbed my hand again, no ceremony needed. "I don't want this to feel like a movie," she said firmly. "I'm not tossing my life for a kiss in the dark." "You shouldn't. But I also don't want to wake up tomorrow pretending tonight was a fluke." "It wasn't." She glanced at the street through the crack in the door. "Here's what scares me most," she said. "The part where we promise to meet up and end up just drifting apart, but with better manners." "Then don't promise." "So what do we do?" "Decide, even if it stings." The word hung there, vibrating like a struck chord. She nodded, her eyes flicking from my face to the door. "Okay, tonight we stay. All in. No half-hearts scattered around. Tomorrow, if the road's open, I go. But I go with truth, not momentum. And if the road stays blocked, we carve a new one." A burst of radio static broke through from outside, and a voice announced the tree would be cleared by dawn. We had a few hours left in a world that fit just two people and an empty store. "Want to grab an imaginary coffee?" I asked. "Best in town." "I'll take two," she laughed. "And an emergency plan." "Emergency plan?" "If the power comes back, we make 2 calls. You to your new job, me to my dad. No dodging the phone." "Deal." We lay side by side, using my jacket as a blanket on one side and a musty throw on the other. She talked about the colors she loves for winter displays. Deep blues, soft grays. I told her about roads I hated because they took me too far from who I was. In the pauses, a quick kiss, a lingering touch, and the urge to say stay bit my tongue and learned to wait. "If I asked you something else," she started. "Ask away. Stay here when I fall asleep. Just tonight." "I'm here." She closed her eyes. Time slowed, marked by drips and breaths. I held her hand over the blanket, my whole body understanding that Sometimes surviving is as simple as warming someone else's space. Somewhere between thunderclaps, Emma stirred and whispered, "If I go tomorrow, promise you won't turn this into a sad memory?" I promised to make it a beautiful choice. "Thanks." She drifted off again. And there, I realized what we call fate might just be the sum of small braveries under heavy rain. When the sky lightened a shade, voices outside grew clearer. The crew was talking about first cut and half an hour. The clock stuck at 3:15 held its ground, stubborn. I sat up slowly, still holding her hand. "Emma," I called softly. When they clear the road, we make those calls. We make those calls." She sat up, ran her fingers through her hair, tied it in a messy bun, and looked at me with eyes that didn't ask for promises, just presence. "There's one last thing I need to tell you before the day really starts," she said, swallowing hard. "The job, it's not just work. It's a chance to settle a debt I owe someone. Debt I owe goodbye, one I never gave. If I don't go now, I'll keep dressing windows to avoid the final word." We locked eyes, and for the first time that night, I felt the cut coming. But with it came a strange peace, the kind that comes from being in the right place, even when everything's about to shift. "Then go," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "And come back if it's your choice, not your guilt." "You make everything complicated and simple at the same time," she said, her eyes glassy but smiling. "That's my specialty," I said, and we laughed, soft and true. She pulled me into a slow kiss. Not goodbye, but fuel, a signature. The siren blared closer. A chainsaw roared outside. The tree that had been a wall was turning into a path. "Jake, I'm right here." The power didn't return, but our decision lit something no electricity could touch. When the crew shouted, "One lane's clear," we stood together. "Imekop Tepe." I grabbed my keys. "Phone time," she reminded me. "Phone time." She dialed her new job, her hands steady. I called my dad, my courage shaking but holding. For the first time, the storm wasn't in the way. It was setting the rhythm for what was finally about to happen. The chainsaws buzz outside felt like a countdown. Each cut through would open the road and stirred something inside us, loosening what we kept locked away. Emma hung up her call and held the phone to her chest, like she was catching borrowed heartbeats before deciding her next step. My phone rang 3 times before a voice answered, one I'd know anywhere, anytime. "Hello?" My dad said, and the past walked into the store, smelling of rain and stubborn memory. "Dad," I said, the word tearing open an old corner inside me. "It's me." A pause, then a deep breath on the other end. "Jake." The name carried weight and promise, guilt and shelter. I breathed with him, sinking by instinct. "I'm close," I went on. "Road's a mess, had to stop. Wanted to see you today, but it'll be dawn." "Morning's fine," he said, his voice catching, the kind you spend a lifetime hiding. I brewed coffee too early my whole life. Tomorrow I'll get the timing right. I closed my eyes, holding what those words did to me. Emma watched from the side, not intruding, just there, like a steady wall you lean on without asking. "Dad, I saved a hug," I said straight up. "If it's still yours, I'm bringing it." A choked laugh came through, heavy with unsaid things. "It's been mine since before you knew you had arms." We settled on a simple plan. 8 a.m., his faded greenhouse, the one that never learned to be any other color. I hung up slowly, like ending the call might break something fragile between worlds starting to talk again. "How'd it go?" Emma asked, her tone steady as ever. "It was true," I said, "and truth hurts in the good way." "It does," she nodded, clutching her bag tighter. "Mine too." "Your what?" "My truth." I called and said yes. Then, right after, asked if I could start with a "not yet." I sat beside her, my body alert but calm, a paradox the night had taught me to hold. They give you that "not yet." Gave me 3 days. And in those 3 days, I need to settle something I've been dodging for years. "That debt." She nodded, her eyes tracing the water sliding down the glass, drawing paths that weren't real but were beautiful anyway. "I loved the guy who loved me when he could," she said, no preamble. And when he couldn't, I made up love on my own. Goddamn good at it. So good I almost believed it was enough. Does he owe you something? Nah, I owe myself. I owe myself a goodbye. I never had the guts to give. I kept his stuff like it was part of my life's set design. Like if I kept the display perfect, I could skip the bill for the loss. Her words were like careful stitches, strong and patient, threading through heavy fabric without tearing. I let the silence help her words settle. So, what do you need to do? I asked. Go to him. Hand over a box with everything left and say, we're done to his face. No pretending. Why is that a debt? Because until I say it, I'll keep arranging life's shelves to avoid fixing my heart. A new sound from the ceiling shook down a veil of dust. The rain had softened, but it was stubborn. I pulled the blanket closer to her, an instinct, and she accepted it without a word. The body says thanks first. The head catches up later. I'm scared, she admitted. Not of going, of coming back. And finding out what I felt here was just a storm special effect. What you felt here as a name, even under clear sky. I said firmly, the rain just fast-forwarded the real. What if it's less when the sky is blue? We'll find out. And if it's less, we don't force it to be more. Sometimes I wish you were a little less right. Sometimes I do too, I grinned. She rested her head on my shoulder, fiddling with the jacket stitching, like she was looking for a seam to slip a memory into and carry it hidden. Tell me something you're embarrassed to admit, she said. I keep notes I didn't write, I said, not overthinking it. Make up letters my dad should have sent. Sometimes I read them out loud in the car. And that saved you, kept me standing. Until tonight. Tonight, I might not need them anymore. Tonight, you called, she finished. Tonight, I called. The chainsaw paused and voices outside came in fragments. Grabbed the rope, cut lower, watched the wire. It was almost a work poem, a reminder that the real world doesn't stop because two strangers decide to laugh and cry in a forgotten gas station. I've got another confession, Emma said, straightening up. I almost didn't come this way today. Had two routes. Picked the shorter one. It led me to the tree. Roads pick us sometimes. I wonder if I picked you when I turned left. And if you did, then I gotta be honest enough not to turn you into an excuse for anything. Her eyes held mine. A clear request. Don't romanticize. Don't promise what's out of our hands. Don't make one into a lifelong contract. Fair, I said. Let's be brutally honest. I want to see you again. Me too. But first, you need to close that box. Yeah, first the box. The word box echoed in the room like a useful ghost. You could almost hear tissue paper, ribbons, the faint scent of the past. Emma inhaled deeply, like she was storing air for crossing. One last favor before the day kicks in, she asked. Name it. If I waver at the moment of truth, remind me what we chose here. I'll remind you. Truth first, fear second. And if fear shows up first, we let it sit for a minute, then ask it to step aside. She smiled, that unhurried smile that was becoming a map. Outside, the noise picked up, a sign the road was almost free. It lit a new urgency between us, a deadline that didn't play nice with improvisation. Will you come with me to drop off the box? She asked, surprising us both. If you want, Ido, but just for the ride. When it's time to talk, it's me and him. Deal. We gathered our scattered things, jacket, blankets, the tired lantern. She tied her hair up again, higher, like quiet armor. I stuffed my wallet in my pocket and checked my keys, a gesture that said, ready? One more thing. I said, we haven't screwed up together yet. What? Every good story's got a little disaster. A dumb mistake that turns into a great memory. Like what? Like me trying to make coffee in that useless thermos and blowing it up. Please, no. She laughed, loud and free for the first time. We'd got enough water for one night. We laughed, and it was a laugh that dried the edges of the night. Mid-laugh, a sharp thud made us turn. The glass door had slammed shut, locked from the outside by a chunk with the water dragged over. For a second, it felt like the station wanted us to stay. Perfect, I said. Our little disaster. And the rescue crew's 10 steps away, she pointed out. We're not making news over a glass door. I tapped the glass, waving. A worker glanced over, signaled 1 minute. We waited, fingers laced, hearts racing like we were watching the final scene roll in. The door clicked open, and the street appeared. Wet, messy, gorgeous. A path. Jake, Emma said, pausing before her first step. One more truth. Hit me? I don't know if I'll come back. And I don't want you to wait like you're parking your life. I don't park anymore. I pull over to a nice spot and keep driving when the road's clear. Thanks. She pulled me into an embrace that wasn't goodbye but carried the edge of early longing. On the rim of the hug. A quick kiss, the kind that lights up the body for the walk ahead. Ready? I asked. Ready. We stepped out. The world smelled of washed asphalt and possibility. A truck roared to life nearby. The chainsaw fell silent, and a sliver of clear sky peeked through the clouds. It was time. After the box, I'm headed to the bus station, she said. Buses run every hour. I'll drive you. You got coffee at 8. I'll drive you as far as I can. Then I'll hang a left. And I'll keep going straight. Sounds like a beautiful plan. We walked to my truck. It started on the first try, a small miracle. Thank you, she said to the engine, dead serious, and I laughed. We climbed in. The radio stayed silent. The town was slowly waking up, whispering its way back to life. Waze was useless for another hour, but we knew the route that mattered, the one to settling the past. Emma, I said before turning the key, if it hurts today, remember, pain's not a mistake. It's a cut, and cuts turn into scars, and scars turn into maps. She touched the dashboard, like thanking a makeshift altar. Go, she said. I turned the key. The truck growled. The day answered. Halfway there, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number lit up the screen with 2 words that shifted the air in the cab. Need to talk. It was him, and suddenly, the storm outside felt less urgent than the one brewing inside. Her phone buzzed again, the screen casting a pale glow on our faces, the kind that offers no comfort. Need to talk. 2 words. Unknown number, but the way Emma caught her breath said everything the text didn't. It's him. I asked, yeah. Wanna call? Ido. And I don't. We can pick the order. Box first. Call after. Deal. I drove through the slick streets, weaving around branches, watching the town relearn how to be a town. Inside the truck, the air felt like a waiting room. Emma hugged her bag like it was armor that doubled as a hug. Jake, I'm here. I'm scared this talk will unravel everything I've stitched together these past months. Real talks don't unravel. They reveal. What if they reveal I'm still stuck? Then we opened the door from the inside. She nodded, her eyes seeing past the windshield into another time. At every dead stoplight, drivers and pedestrians made silent deals to keep the town moving. It was almost beautiful, the way chaos played nice. You know what I hate most? She broke the silence. When I'm about to leave and the perfect message hits at the perfect time, offering the talk I always needed. The storm inside's got its own radar, and it smacks you right in the forehead. We pulled up to a low-rise apartment building. Paint peeling, aluminum windows glinting dully. The kind of place where life happens unfiltered. I parked a block away at her request. I'll walk, she said. I'll wait here, I replied. She squeezed my hand before opening the door. If I take too long, I'll wait. And if I walk out without looking back, I'll get it. And if I come running back, I'll be here. She smiled, tense but sweet. She stepped out, and the world shrank to the sound of her sneakers on the wet sidewalk, the jingle of keys on the other side of the gate, the click of a doorknob that wasn't cinematic, but heavy as hell. The dashboard clock ticked a time that didn't matter. What mattered was the time it took her to climb one flight, knock, and say a name that wasn't mine. I closed my eyes and, for a moment, was 8 again, waiting for my dad to keep a weekend promise that turned into Monday, then never. I opened my eyes, touched the steering wheel, breathed. This wasn't that wait. This time, there was choice on both sides. The gate creaked open, but it wasn't Emma. It was him. I knew it without ever seeing him. The look of someone who hadn't slept and knew need to talk carried months of delay. He saw me in the truck, hesitated, then walked over. "You're the Jake." No backstory offered. Emma's upstairs. I texted her. Saw it. He stared at the ground, kicked a stray branch, looked up. "I'm not going to make this harder. That's not my call." "I know." A short silence. A horn blared somewhere down the street. He took a breath. "I messed up," he said, like handing over the only evidence in trial. And when I figured it out, I was already gone. Came back too late. Too late is real, but you can still end it right. That's what I want. Then let her talk first. And listen. He nodded, honest in a crooked way. He went back inside. I sat there, picturing a world where they'd settle their score and walk away whole, each to their own place. My phone buzzed, a short text from my dad. "Coffee's ready. No ruse. Just come." I exhaled like I'd open a window. 12 minutes passed. 15. 20. The gate swung open. Emma stepped out, her bag lighter, a cardboard box in her arms, the exact size of an ending. He trailed a step behind, hands in his pockets, not reaching out. They looked like two adults who'd finally agreed on the grammar of goodbye. I opened the truck door. She slid in, set the box in her lap, and stared at it for a moment, like saying farewell to something that used to be home. "So?" I asked. I said it. He listened. Her eyes shone but held steady. He apologized. I accepted. "The box. It's his now. Today. But I wanted to carry it this far. To feel the weight leave my hands." "Is it leaving?" "It is." She breathed deeper, tapped her phone, opened the chat with no name, and deleted the thread. Done. No shortcuts. Now what? Now I catch the bus. I glanced at the dashboard clock. There was time to hit the bus station and still make it to my dad's greenhouse. The day had turned into a map with two clear paths. "I'll drive you," I said. "I know, but I'm going alone." "Fair. It's not a standoff. It's a choice. I came here with you. I want to leave on my own 2 feet. Makes sense." She turned to me, leaned close, pressed her forehead to mine. "I'm not making promises. Neither am I. But I'm leaving a window open. And I'll learn not to stare at it all day. Thanks." We kissed like we knew exactly what we could carry without breaking. It was a kiss of answers, not questions. Fuel, not addiction. When we pulled apart, she smiled that light in any room smile. "Drop me at the bus station corner. I'll walk from there." "Deal." On the way, she leaned against the window, watching the town dry out slowly. People reappeared with grocery bags, dogs, Tuesday plans. Normalcy had a way of taking up space. Still, the storm left invisible marks, like writing with water and waiting for the sun to reveal it. "Jake, talk to me. If I come back, it won't be because I lack the guts to go. If you come back because you want to. And if I don't turn it into a loss. I'll turn it into a presence. You complicate and simplify everything at once. My favorite useless talent." We laughed. The bus station came into view. Numbered platforms, people with suitcases, the smell of bad coffee that somehow smelled good. I parked quick. She unbuckled, moving slow, stretching the last seconds without cheating. "There's one thing I haven't told you," she said, hand on the door. "Tomorrow, if I go, I start a big project. New city, new neighborhood, new schedule. New me. Sometimes you change the outside to finally change the inside. And if I find out the inside changes you, we figure out together. The right way. No rush to promise. All rush to feel." She nodded, opened the door, paused halfway. "Choose me today. Just today. Today I choose you. Thanks." She stepped out, walked to the entrance, stopped, turned, raised her hand in a small, intimate wave. I waved back. She went inside, vanished behind a pillar, reappeared on platform 3. ticket in hand. She checked her phone, typed. My phone buzzed. Thanks for being shelter and storm. I replied, thanks for being sea and map. Deleted it corrected. Thank you. She laughed. Even from a distance, I could tell, and sent an emoji too simple for the moment, and because of that, perfect. The bus pulled up. People boarded. She hung back, giving her heart time to catch up with her legs. Before stepping on, she looked back. Not a plea, recognition. And I see you without sound. When the bus rolled out, the empty passenger seat didn't ache like I'd feared. It was the right size for a choice well made. I turned the key. The truck started first try. I took the avenue toward the greenhouse. The town was a dismantled storefront. Cold light, honest reflections, nothing in place, and yet ready to be rebuilt. My phone pinged. Dad, coffee's brewed. If it's cold, we reheat. If it's bitter, we sweeten. If it spills, we clean. Come. I smiled alone, drove on, and as the engine hummed under my hand, I understood that loving sometimes means letting go with the same care as holding on. That choice isn't a wall, it's a bridge. And the storm didn't take what needed to stay. It just showed what was already ours, waiting for a name. At the greenhouse's corner, before parking, the sky cracked open a shy streak of blue. My phone buzzed once. Emma, a photo of a bus window. Crooked raindrops, a faint horizon. Caption, still hearing the storm. But now it's whispering. The greenhouse came into view like a memory that found the courage to stay. The old gate squeaked the same as always, but for the first time in years, the sound didn't scratch anything inside me. I parked out front, glanced at Emma's photo, bus window, messy drops, timid skyline, and reread her caption. Still hearing the storm, but now it's whispering. I took a deep breath, killed the engine, and let the quiet do what the rain hadn't. Settle everything. Son, his voice came before the door swung open. My dad stood there, coffee mug in hand, his eyes those of someone desperate to get it right, but unsure where to start. Time stumbled, but didn't fall. We sized each other up for a second that held every lost year, then stepped closer, like we decided the bridge was worth more than the river. I brought that hug, I said, and he laughed, his voice cracking. And I kept mine, didn't toss it even on cleaning day. We hugged, not movie perfect, real, arms too tight, nose bumping shoulder, breasts faltering and finding each other. Everything a body needs to know it still fits in another's. Come in, he said, stepping aside. Coffee's weak as ever, but the talk's got potential. The living room was still simple. Crooked picture frames, a table scarred with coffee rings, a clock running 2 minutes fast, like it was chasing tomorrow. We sat. He dumped too much sugar in my cup and cleared his throat twice before speaking. I left the wrong way, he admitted, and came back in my head but never knocked. I stayed behind the door but never opened the window. Two stubborn mules. Two stubborn mules. We laughed, the kind of laugh that follows a confession tastes better than any coffee. We talked small stuff to warm up, neighbors who still blast music, the tree that grew crooked, the soap opera I never watched and he pretends to hate. Slowly, we edged toward the stuff we'd always pushed off. I was scared you'd turn into me, he said, almost a whisper. So I ran. I turned into me, I said, with a side of missing you. He nodded, eyes wet, no hiding it. There was nothing left to fight over, just stuff to rebuild. Thanks for coming, he said. You brought the rain. And you kept the coffee. Fair trade. Time in that kitchen learned to move again. Between stories, I checked my phone. Emma's bus window photo was still open, a quiet talisman. I typed, made it. 3 dots danced, vanished, returned. Her reply, me too. I smiled, and he didn't need to ask why. Someone special? He ventured, careful. A date with life. And someone who reminded me how good it feels to choose. Choose slow, then. Learning how. He stood, opened the fridge, pulled out stale bread, and laughed at his own enthusiasm. We don't have much, but it's enough for a decent start. Decent start's all I need. We ate overdone toast with butter and talked until the clock caught up. Outside, The sky opened a lazy blue streak. The storm was just wet sidewalks now. Inside, no flooding, just new ground. In the backyard, breathing the air, my phone buzzed. Emma, platform 3, ticket in hand. Heart 2. I replied, doors open. Coffee tastes like talk. She sent a that felt like a hug in text. Go see the town with clean eyes. My dad said, joining me, it's different after rain. So are we. He rested his hand on my shoulder, light, no claim, like he was relearning what being a dad meant, not a title, but a gesture. Today I need to say sorry and thank you, he said. Sorry for being late. Thanks for being now. I take both. We lingered, planning dumb lunches, bad games, drop-ins with no schedule. Before leaving, I stuck a note on the fridge, like planting a flag in peaceful territory. Back Sunday, bring the deck. Driving back, the sun tore through the night's remnants. The town reclaimed its hustle, but it moved at a pace my body could match. I stopped near the bus station, not to wait, but to feel that I could go, stay, return, and not lose myself. My phone buzzed. Emma, got here, dropped the box. Felt it, cried less than I expected, smiled more than I earned. I read it aloud to myself, tasting the words. Replied, proud's an understatement. Go live. She answered, I will, and I'll write when the storm speaks again. Promise? Nah, want. I turned the key. The radio crackled, then played some old tune I'd never admit I love. I sang along off-key because who says joy needs pitch? At stoplights, I noticed hands letting go and finding each other, umbrellas dripping in corners, kids splashing puddles like they were trophies. The world's got a knack for keeping on. Halfway home, I pulled into a corner diner, ordered 2 cheese rolls, a small indulgence, and sat by the window, watching late raindrops fall from wires. I opened my phone, stared at a blank note, and wrote, I never thought a storm could change my life forever, but it wasn't the rain. It was the courage it dragged in. The woman with wet hair and sky-bright eyes who learned to say goodbye. The dad with coffee-stained hands who learned to say stay. Me, who learned to stay and go without breaking. I stopped, reread, chuckled at myself. Erased the period. Some stories deserve to breathe. The waiter said the day would warm up. It will, I said, and meant more than weather. In the door's glass, my reflection looked like someone done with shortcuts. My phone felt light in my pocket. A new message. Emma, new city, work waiting. So am I. I'll send you the view when the window's pretty. I replied, when the coffee's too strong, I'll call. I stepped out. The street smelled like laundry on the line. The wind had no hurry. I called my dad just to talk nonsense. Left my jacket on your chair. He laughed. Guess you got a reason to come back. Me. I had one anyway. At home, I emptied my pockets like shaking off the storm. Keys, wallet, a scrap of the greenhouse's old address, a napkin with a doodle I didn't remember drawing, an open umbrella, 2 mugs, a window. I stared at it and knew I built the right display that night. No glass needed. Before bed, I opened my window. The town was finally quiet, listening without noise. The storm was gone, but its lesson stayed. You don't control the sky, you control your steps. And you choose to stay, go, return. To speak, hush here. To love, the grown-up, beautiful, hard way. The way that takes work and gives peace. I grabbed my phone one last time. Texted Emma, no questions, no push. I'm here. She replied with a photo, an open notebook, a pen, a windowsill with plants, late afternoon light hitting crooked, and a line. Today I chose me, and I chose to keep what chooses me back. I turned off the lamp. In the dark, my heart finally learned to speak softly, and in the silence left behind, the storm became what it always wanted to be, a beginning